I want to make one thing very clear. Everything that I say in this video essay is my opinion and my opinion alone. I will be breaking down these movies and characters and expressing my feelings. I will not be using citations of others to try to prove anything. Everything I say in this video is from me. So if I translate what I am trying to say poorly, then it is all on me. I will only bring up criticisms of the film to better explain my point of view. This is my defense of Black Panther and Captain Marvel. And secondary disclaimer. Nothing I say will be posed as this is wrong or this is right, unless it is indeed a false statement made about the events and the context of the films, but mostly just me saying why I disagree and giving rebuttals from my point of view. I just want to make it clear that I'm not trying to be right about something clearly subjective. If you don't like these films and you are clicking on this video for a different perspective, I commend you. Thank you for hearing me out. I hope I can do justice for these films. So like I said, this is my defense of Black Panther and Captain Marvel.
Somebody pop all day, hold up. Somebody on their way, hold up. I would've grown all day, hold up. Somebody can't relate.
Black Panther.
Black Panther is special to me because it is unlike any Marvel movie before it. I know that sounds odd considering everyone thinks that these movies look the same, but that's not exactly the case when I look at them. But what do I know? But Black Panther is elevated by its storytelling. It is special to me. The way they use the characters around T'Challa to bring out more than just, you killed my father, prepare to die. We see how his relationships and his responsibilities affect him and his decisions and actions. We see his trials and tribulations as king and how those choices can affect his people. We see this perfectly through W'Kabi, how he's a character that holds his past and personal interests over the greater good, later letting the trauma of his past be what draws him to Killmonger's side. And then we are introduced to Killmonger, who is literally the same revenge sentiment. People say that T'Challa is only good in Civil War because he's fueled by revenge. And then they say that Killmonger isn't a good character because he's fueled by revenge. I think that people fail to notice that this movie isn't about just T'Challa. It's about Wakanda and the idea of the Black Panther. The two main characters are fighting over the title of Black Panther and the throne of Wakanda. They are fighting not just a battle of strength or speed, but a battle of ideologies.
Wakanda has the tools to liberate them all.
And what tools are those?
Vibranium. Your weapons.
Our weapons will not be used to wage war on the world.
This film introduces us to the people of Wakanda and the energy and vibe of Wakanda. We're introduced to the people who make T'Challa who he is and how they affect him. We're shown this beautiful utopia of peace and secrecy. But we are also shown how that secrecy can have its negative effects.
I am Killmonger.
Killmonger is the antithesis of T'Challa and Wakanda. He is a symbol of a different set of old ideologies that stem from his background and his upbringing. He is a product of Wakanda's self-interest and American history. He holds the idea that peace can only be achieved by first engaging in war. He thinks that there can't be equality, but there must be the conquerors and the conquered.
So we're gonna use their own strategy against them. We're gonna send vibranium weapons out to our war dogs. They'll arm oppressed people all over the world so they can finally rise up and kill those in power and their children and anyone else who takes their side.
It's time they know the truth about us. We're warriors. The world's gonna start over, and this time we're on top.
Even in his dying breath, he holds on to his vision. He holds on to his ideas, and he dies. He dies for what he believed in.
Nah. Just bury me in the ocean with my ancestors that jumped from the ships. Because they knew death was better than bondage.
I am genuinely okay if you didn't connect to the story and the characters. That's fine. I won't lose sleep. But if your criticism mentions the race of the characters, I'm gonna tune out. If using race or gender or sexuality as a part to elevate or just simply tell a story is a bad thing to you, then you must not care about human storytelling. Black Panther is a human story. It gives us insight on different types of people. It shows what might be my favorite display of duality and juxtaposition between a protagonist and antagonist. Both characters are driven to do what they believe is right based on what they were taught by those before them. One of them grows to defy those ideals.
You are wrong! All of you are wrong! To turn your backs on the rest of the world!
We let the fear of our discovery stop us from doing what is right. No more.
And the other stays rooted in theirs.
Divide and conquer the land as they did.
Nah, I learned from my enemies. Beat them at their own game.
You have become them.
You have two characters that you can sympathize with and see where they come from, but know that they are both extremely flawed. And by the end of the film, the protagonist uses the ideals of the antagonist to change for the better by using a better method to bring about that change. Now let's talk about some of these criticisms.
Oh, I just can't wait to be king.
No. I mean, the only thing that they have in common is brothers killing each other in the past and then a fight for the throne in the future. Also, have you guys never heard of Hamlet? Who cares? Who cares? Even if the CGI wasn't great for most of the film and didn't look beautiful until the third act, it has no bearing on the storytelling. Look at Shazam. People love that film, and it is full of CGI that looks off, but it doesn't take away from the very heartfelt story that is being told, because it doesn't matter, and yet no one mentions it. And when they do, they say it doesn't matter. But more than a year and a half later, and I still gotta see tweets that Black Panther looks like a video game. Since I'm here defending it, Black Panther's final fight is already well choreographed and was very well made, and easily would have been one of the best looking parts of the film if it was given enough time to polish. But this was made in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. The VFX artists were put on a time crunch to make this in time for release after it went under reshoots. But for 2 weeks, it still isn't as bad as people try to make it out to be. But as I said, who cares? CGI didn't matter in the 80s, 90s, or now. You know what does matter though? Story. Story matters. Okay, time out. Literally the day I started writing this script, a video about CGI came out, in which this VFX artist explained the process of VFX, the work that goes in and the things that cause CGI not to look polished, like time crunches. And when I say that CGI doesn't matter, I am simply saying that while CGI can help elevate the story, a lot of my favorite movies from my childhood, and maybe from yours too, have extremely dated visual effects. But that doesn't stop them from being enjoyable. That's all I'm saying. Odd-looking visual effects aren't that noticeable to me until someone points them out. My ability to suspend disbelief might be second to none, but that doesn't mean I just completely check out. I wanted to interject this piece just so it doesn't sound like I don't respect the work that VFX artists do. But at the same time, the critics of VFX kind of do that. But back to our regularly scheduled program. And the story of Black Panther is something that I'm going to hold on to and connect with for the rest of my life. When I hear those drums and horns, I will get goosebumps. When I hear Ramonda say, "Tell him who you are," I will get goosebumps. When Eric talks to his father, I will tear up.
Well, look at what I've done. I should have taken you back long ago.
When T'Challa speaks to his father, I'm gonna tear up.
I am not ready to be without you.
When I think about those before me and the name I carry, I will think about Black Panther and how it says that you don't have to be them, but you can definitely learn from them, good or bad. Black Panther isn't just about race. It is a story about culture, tradition, anger, loss, revenge, loyalty, sacrifice, family, love, and most of all, growth and change. And change scares people. It scares people for whatever reason to see people who don't look like them being prominent on screen. It scares people to have to sit down and learn and think about the struggles and hardships and see the point of view from someone else's life solely because they don't look the same. Change scares people in general. We see people get comfortable and complacent with how things are, and it's people like Killmonger who have to open their eyes. Maybe not with a spear, but still enlighten others all the same. Make them aware of how much better things can be. Killmonger's idea is something that you can get behind, using resources to help people. His plan, giving people weapons, is not. Black Panther excels with how it brings something real to the story and has something to say that everyone should hear, but maybe everybody wasn't ready to hear it.
We must not. We will work to be an example of how we as brothers and sisters on this earth should treat each other. Now more than ever, the illusions of division threaten our very existence. We all know the truth. More connects us than separates us. But in times of crisis, the wise build bridges, while the foolish build barriers. We must find a way to look after one another as if we were one single tribe.
If the words forced diversity are in your vocabulary, please steer clear from the subscribe button. Even if 5 people watch this video, Black Panther has more to offer and can relate to anyone outside of just the black community. And to see people completely miss the message of the film, which promotes unity and being willing to help everyone, and not just who looks like you or lives in the same country as you, is wild to me. A movie that preaches unity and respect, especially in this day and age, is called Overrated and Race Bait. Fantastic. What sets Black Panther and Captain Marvel apart from the rest of the MCU for me is that neither film pulls punches. They tell true and honest stories from a real and honest perspective. The MCU has always put the storytelling first. That's what I care about. And Black Panther and Captain Marvel are my favorites because of how their stories are just as universal as any other MCU film. And yet people prefer to put them into a box. This one's going to be even worse. I thought that I would make a video on each of these separately, but I thought that with how these films are lumped together with the SJW bullshit genre, I thought I would just take the hit and put them together. So let's talk about another completely misunderstood banger of a film. I love this movie and the character, sue me. But I think what bothers me the most is how the movie kinda went over people's heads, or at least that's how it seems. Let's take a look at some of the criticisms of the film. I mean, yeah, it's kind of part of the point.
Team, knock it off. Right.
Yeah, she definitely doesn't go from Kree drone to independent free-thinking hero. Technically, that is learning something, but at the same time, that isn't completely correct. She learns who she is, and the film tells a story of literal self-discovery. I mean, barely, but then again, the Kree are gassing her up. Deleted scene time.
There's no greater example of Kree potential than the mighty Veers.
She is told she is the baddest on the block, and at the same time being told that she isn't as strong as she thinks. Being manipulated to push herself and making her think that she has to prove herself to the Kree. Not only sexist, but it's wrong. Mary Sue is used to define a flawless female character because how dare women have immense power, right? But wouldn't cockiness be a flaw? But also, it means the character has no weaknesses. Considering how we see her lose in some capacity in each of her film appearances, it's incredibly false to call her Mary Sue. Also because, character development exists. But most hate for this film stems from the protagonist not looking like the majority. This film is referred to as feminist propaganda far too often, and it is incredible how a movement and push for equality has somehow been warped and twisted into a narrative about destroying men and ruling the world. This leads me to the utterly ridiculous controversy that plagued this film. Somehow the words, more people should be involved in film criticism, turned into white men aren't allowed to watch my movie because I said so. How that happened, I couldn't fucking tell you. But enough about sexist assholes. Let's talk about Captain. Oh, fuck! Listen, guys, if you think I'm gonna go a whole essay about Captain Marvel and not mention this, I don't know. Is Captain Marvel justified in squeezing and shocking his hand? Not really. Was Superman justified in destroying that truck driver's truck? Not really. Was she justified in stealing his motorcycle? Yeah. Because at this moment in time, she is under the assumption that this planet will be destroyed by terrorists. And let's be honest, she wasn't wrong. Is this guy innocent of being a creep? Nope. Is this harassment? Yep. Is it at any point appropriate for a man to walk up to a random woman and say,
"How about a smile for me, huh?"
Hell no. Would he have approached her and bugged her if she was a man? I'll let you ponder that one. I'm gonna say something that is going to get me in trouble. Here goes. Carol Danvers is just as good of a character as Steve Rogers. I mean, come on. Two people who want to stand and fight and yet get completely mistreated and overlooked and cast aside for the way they look and not for how they think and what drives them. Carol is a new definition for I can do this all day. And I think it is perfect for the target audience of this film to see someone like them embody that sentiment. Captain Marvel is dummy powerful, but I think that makes people overlook the development of the character, especially when we look at the scene in which she finds her true power. This scene isn't just Carol going Super Saiyan. This is character development. This is Carol resolving her character arc and becoming the best version of herself by being who she wants to be, who she chooses to be, not by becoming what others want her to be. Throughout this movie, we see Carol wrestle with her humanity and wrestle with her identity. She struggles to be herself and find her own personality because she doesn't have a definitive one. There are two sides of her that are at odds for agency, her past and present. But when she learns and when she grows, she becomes one whole, creating a hero that we will get to know more in the future. I get it. She isn't a ray of sunshine, and she isn't super quirky and witty and quippy like Star-Lord or even Thor for that matter. But why should she? That isn't who she is. The MCU has enough jokesters, and even she can do that. But this performance was about her finding her footing. The Kree tried to use her humanity to discourage her and make her think that she needed them to be strong. But she was always strong because of that humanity.
Without us, you're only human.
You're right.
She always got back up, and she didn't find that strength from outside. It was from within. Had she not found that strength within herself, she never would have found that physical power. I remember this one scene from this other movie that featured a hero in a weakened and losing state, looking within themselves and trying to find the strength to overcome the villain. And then I think about how ridiculously powerful they become and how it was never criticized. But I didn't have Twitter at the time, so maybe I just missed it. These films, both of them, are about characters who look within themselves to find a resolution to become better, to grow, and to be the best they can be on their terms, and not to be what others expect from them. And I think that because these films weren't what people expected, that's why they are so heavily criticized. Are these films insane, groundbreaking pieces of cinema? No. Do they still have immense impact? Yes. Every film that comes out does not have to be groundbreaking or insanely ambitious to tell a dope story that can resonate with people. Filmmaking to me isn't about making the best looking film. It's not about having the best lighting or the best composition or even the best camera. It is about telling the story in whatever way you see fit. I find myself scrolling through Twitter, seeing people bash films for not sharing the same vision as them, and masquerading that as the films not having vision at all. We live in a day and age where people will say that they love art and be unwilling to accept that art is subjective. If you disagree with me on these films, that's fine. If you didn't connect with these films like I did, that is fine. But can you please stop acting like people who like something you don't have no taste or bad taste, or accusing them of only liking the films because of X, Y, Z? Words like good, bad, mediocre, and masterpiece sound like grades. They sound like the film was put into a rubric and had to meet some list of objective requirements and then were generated a score based off of that. But there is no rubric for films. There's no such thing as a perfect movie, and hell, I'll get buried for this, but there's no such thing as a bad movie. There are films I don't necessarily love that people hold near and dear to their hearts, and there are movies I love that people don't connect with at all. That doesn't mean we should be at each other's throats about who has better taste, because there's no such thing. In conclusion, love what you love and let others love what they love. I love these movies, and I will do my best to never mention them again on this channel until I feel that it is absolutely necessary. No time soon though, hopefully. Because after this video, I think
I have nothing to prove to you.
So, what's next?